Let's talk to some managers. Hi, I'm Emily Burke.
And I'm Ale Headland.
For the past 3 episodes, we've been talking about artist managers and what the fuck they do.
It's time to get down to the real meat and potatoes of this series and finally talk to some artist managers.
We interviewed 3 different artist managers, all with different things to say about their jobs.
We picked the highlights to finish off this series.
Believe it or not, these interviews were longer.
So, let's finally talk to some artist managers.
We traveled to Long Island to interview Scott Waldman, owner of Waldman Management in LA and host of Waldman's Words on Adobe Radio, a music industry podcast focusing on the people behind the scenes. He has a background as a touring musician and has been exclusively managing for around 4 years. He also happens to be my boss of 3 years. You're an artist manager. That's your full-time job.
I basically work with narcissistic sociopaths as their doctor, lawyer, therapist, nag, and I try to turn $1 into 3. Always expect the unexpected with artist management.
So you started out as a musician.
Yep, sound checking just like that.
Do you like being a musician or a manager better?
It totally depends. There are some days I wake up and I'm just like, oh, you freaking idiots, but I felt that same way when I was in a band.
So what would you say is like your day-to-day as a manager?
Every day I wake up and I try to do as little as possible while making the most money. What we try to do is we find a project that doesn't need us. We go, hey, I would like 15% of your income.
That sounds kind of shady.
Oh, it's very shady.
Oh.
Better that than being an iBanker.
Why do you think they're necessary?
Artists are really, really not organized, and they need someone who can organize their stuff. We try to take advantage of them the least way possible and guide them. Our goal, I guess, as managers for producers and engineers, songwriters, or mixers, or mastering engineers, or even bands, is to try to get it so that the majority of their time is spent creatively. My goal is for them to concentrate and focus on their art. The clients who come to me know that I get it, and I also don't want to be a booking agent, no way.
Yeah.
The agent's sole responsibility is to get you work. It's all bottom line. The manager is invested in all other aspects of your career. We are basically the liaison for every single thing.
This is your full-time job. Would you ever take on an artist that is not necessarily looking for the fame of it, like just having fun
It's
to
not
play
about the
music?
fame. I wouldn't want to take someone on that's not in career mode. If they're not looking for a manager and they're not looking to really like step up their game, then no.
When do you think a band should start thinking about getting a manager?
I think that they should wait until people come to them. I think that they should get to the point where, you know, they just are making X amount of money and they're a successful touring act or they're placing songs here. I think if you're approaching management, I think that's a bad start. I think people just approach it the wrong way. A lot of artists just think that, like, if they have a manager, the manager is the one who has to, like, do everything for them. An ideal situation is that a band is taking themselves as far as they kind of quote-unquote can, and the manager kind of connects the dots and uses their connections to hopefully bring them up. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantees in any industry, especially music. So the manager can only promise effort. Even if you get a manager, no one's going to work harder than you.
Do you ever still feel like, oh, I don't necessarily know what I'm doing here?
Of course. I speak to managers all the time and say you just learn as you go when you're thrown into the trenches. Did I do okay?
We focused on the music industry, but managers exist all over the entertainment world. James Davidson has a background in music, but in the last 5 years, he's transitioned into a new field.
My name is James Davidson, and I manage professional, I would call them influencers, esports stars, guys at the top of gaming. I also work with an actress, 3 different musicians. Used to work with a lot of YouTube stars, now I work with just a handful of YouTube stars. So I kind of cover the gamut of what people call digital influencers these days, as well as my kind of other life, which is the music side. I wear a lot of hats.
Did you ever see yourself being a manager?
No, definitely not. I always liked the idea of being a manager because when I was in a band, managers were like, you know, these like untouchable people that everybody wanted to try to get to help them out.
So how would your day-to-day as a manager differ today from when you were working primarily in music?
Music is more of a hustle. With gaming, there's a set strategy. Okay, do X, Y, Z, and this is the stuff that needs to get done today, and we'll make money, and our clients will be happy. With music, when I was managing just musicians, I would wake up and I'd have to sit down in front of a whiteboard and brainstorm. Hey, these are the out-of-the-box ideas I want to try to do. It's a lot of creativity. It's a lot of where can I get an edge and where can I find an edge. With gaming, it's much more everybody is exploring that space, and you have to just deal with the day-to-day of people coming to you.
At what point do you think an influencer or a gamer would need a manager?
It's a bandwidth thing. Same thing with music. Like when your bandwidth gets maxed out, like obviously, by all means, come knocking on our door. We're glad to help out anybody that just can't handle the workload. The other benefit of an organization like ours is we obviously employ a legal team. We have a marketing team. We have a creative team. If you can't edit a video down that is due at a certain time or you want to get up, we can do it for you. If you have a contract and you don't understand, our lawyer is literally one of the best lawyers on the planet, so we can negotiate for you. It's a little more set in music in terms of like what things cost and what you have to pay a band, and that can be negotiated by a booking agent and all that. We set rates. Like we go out into the marketplace and we set rates for what things should cost, and we have an understanding. We have algorithms that we use and programs that we use. If you're the type of person that just needs everything more professionalized, that's really where we come in. Generally speaking, what we're trying to do is take someone to the next level. If you're an influencer and it's overwhelming, yes, you should have a manager. If you're not really doing it as a profession, you shouldn't have a manager.
If you could give like a 2 to 3 sentence job description.
I'm a professional parent. I parent people. I've done mortgage applications. I've filled out affidavits for court. I've written statements for paternity suits. I've attended birthday parties. I've negotiated the sale of channels. There's literally like no limit to what I do. I'm a best friend to some of these people. I'm a psychologist to some of these people. And then I'm obviously a business manager. Like I handle negotiations and things like that. I'm someone's dad. Like someone comes to me and says, I don't know how to do this, and I do it. And I get like dad texts like, what should I do about this? And I'm like, whatever you want to do. And honestly, 90% of these guys just want a second opinion.
To finish off, we talked to Zach Yoshioka, CEO of Powerline Management.
My name is Zach Yoshioka. I have a management company called Powerline Management. We have, I think around 7 or 8 active artists on our roster. And we manage bands and artists. Artists are very interesting people because they might text you at 3 a.m. or call you at 3 a.m, and they're definitely emotional. And I think there's a level of understanding you have to have. Like in the morning, I could wake up to 100 texts and 100 emails, or I could wake up to radio silence. I really just have to look at all my clients as like accounts. And every day I work on each account a little bit here and there to try to move the needle forward on all their careers. We look at the business aspects of, where they are, where they're trying to go, what their goals are, but really try to push them, like when we look back and reflect a year later, to see the growth and the progress that we had from the year before. And the number one thing you have to do as an artist manager is you have to make sure you're growing businesses and make sure you're branding them properly and make sure that you're doing everything you can to make them a successful business, even with maintaining their artistry at the same time.
If you were to bring on a new artist right now, what would you be looking for?
You have to look for the it factor. I come in and I look at what is working with an artist, and then I try to take that what's working and I try to amplify it. Sometimes it means taking on partners with investors or labels or sponsorship, etc. Sometimes it's navigating, what they're doing and aligning them with certain producers or certain collabs with other artists, or building a live band around them, or finding members, or there's so many things you got to do. It's just all case by case basis. And I'm not a producer or songwriter by any means, but my gut is usually never wrong.
One of the biggest things that have come up between both the bands that we talk to and the other managers is how the manager kind of acts as a parent or a dad.
I feel like you can be friends with a client, and you need to be friends with a client to some degree, so there's like this empathy and trust there. At the same time, I don't think that being the parent-dad thing is the right word. You need to kind of maintain that level of authority in the sense of like, hey, like I'm going to listen to you and I want to support all your ideas and I'm going to be on your side. But at the end of the day, I'm the manager, you need to listen to me because it's in your best interest.
So,
So,
that was a lot.
we got a lot of really specific answers and a lot of it depends.
I think one of the biggest takeaways here is that artist managers do a lot.
I think we're going to try to list out every single thing someone has said that an artist manager does in this entire series.
So, here you go.
So, what the f*** does an artist manager do?
Fucking everything.